Now we have Mark Hannan from Mark 49. He was so kind to give me such a short bio. 15 years at Shell in the intersection between innovation and energy transition. Current job is fully dedicated to supporting corporates investing in climate tech. Thank you. And he sees the energy transition as a growth opportunity, not a cost. Mark, welcome.
Hey, Laurent, I'd like to welcome you to the stage. Maybe we could stand up. We've been sitting down for a very long time to get some energy in the room. So stand up. And I have a question for you all, for people who have funds and are investing in climate change. Please sit down if your fund is not investing more than 25% in climate change. Okay, this is a good discussion in a good room to be in. So thank you very much. So Laurent, let's talk a little bit about you. So introduce yourself to the group.
Good morning. I don't know if yes. Good morning, everybody. So happy to be here, as I say. Laurent Guingamp. I work for Hitachi. And I don't know if all of you know about Hitachi. It's a Japanese conglomerate. We operate across different industrial sectors, automotive, energy, IT, AI, digital solutions, healthcare, and manufacturing as some of our sectors. And then at the corporate level, we have what we call divisions that are in charge of the growth of the group. So you have a digital growth division, an environmental growth division, and then an innovation growth division where you have the corporate venture office as well as the Hitachi Ventures organization, where some of my colleagues are here from Hitachi Ventures. So I work for the environmental business division looking after incubation of new environmental businesses. So we work across the portfolio of BUs. And so that's what we call inside out, incubating businesses from within and then trying to grow them and then see how far they go or if eventually going to spin-offs. And then I also work in the corporate venture office, but on the BD side. So working very closely with the Stefan and his organization. We run the Hitachi, we run the CVC part. But we're on the BD side, so working very closely with the BUs, understanding their priorities, their strategies, and then trying to create value through the startup ecosystem and going through some process of partnerships, strategic partnerships we can lead to other even more capitalistic relationships.
An interesting part of what you've said is you're in the environmental growth division. How embedded is climate and sustainability within what Hitachi's strategy is, and do you see climate as a growth?
Yes, it's very embedded. If you look at, I think we have an investor day a couple of weeks ago. We claim to be and want to continue to be what we call a climate change innovator. It's very present. It's all across the organization. We have in our environmental division two activities. We call it GX for core, green growth for core and green growth for growth, right? So we obviously work on all scope 1, 3, and then recently joined the scope 4 avoided emission by wagons. So it's very key. Like every other corporation, we're operating and trying to operate as smoothly as possible this transition. Which presents a number of challenges, but also massive opportunities, and it's a very exciting challenge.
Yeah, we'll dig in a bit more into that. I think I'd like to start a little bit by your venturing journey that Hitachi's been on. So you started in 2014. Tell us about that evolution until today.
Yes, it was a very interesting journey. So in 2014, I was working for the IT division, which is called now the DSS, which is the largest group in Hitachi. And it was the first official and explicit attempt to incubate new businesses in the group. But it was done from within what we call a core business unit. Long story short, 3-year period, 2-3-year period, we went from a failure to a failure, etc. So many of you know the challenges of incubating or launching new businesses within mature businesses. There's a lot of books written about this. So we got hit by a bus multiple times trying to do that. And then finally in 2017, there was a decision to build this incubation structure outside of a BU at the corporate level with its own budget, its own operating model, and its own KPIs.
So
right?
outside of the business.
Outside of a core BU or a core business. And this was a unique opportunity, and it changed everything, right? It changed everything. Initially, we started working on what we called early growth businesses, early growth ventures. So it would be when maybe the industrial group or the IT group would have started incubating a business that was maybe doing $10 million, $10 million, in some cases $20 million, but they couldn't take it to the next phase. So we took them, invested in them, and typically would take them to maybe $100 million of bookings, and then hand them back. Obviously, this was done with a common governance model with the BUs, but what you really need to do is to extract that team from the massive, I don't want to call it inertia, but inertia can be also in a good direction, right? Of the huge business, allow them to be more agile, to have people that have the right incentive, set of incentives to drive this. So we did this for 3 years, and then we started to look at the broader theme, broader scope of innovating and incubating new businesses, and decided to go into early stage, right? Really starting from the ideation, blank sheet of paper, talking to our partners, talking to our C-levels. We had a lot of ideas, and then put in place this operating model where you have maybe 10, 20, 30 ideas, and then you run them through milestones, gaps, etc. You kill as many as you need to. You shouldn't be scared to kill them, and only the fittest survive. We had the chance to work with many companies, including Mac49, to help us build this. And that led to the first series of successes and implementing what we believe right now is a right model for incubating new businesses. And again, I was mentioning my role before, which is inside out, and then there's an outside in terms of working with the kind of scouting the startups. And the true and very effective ecosystem for building new business and creating more value is really when you have this incubation, you have the CVC component. Obviously, you work with a corporate strategy, etc. This entire ecosystem is really what requires you to, what allows you to create that innovation, that value creation.
Yeah, and I think Catherine earlier on was talking about this buy, build, partner approach to innovation, and maybe a good place to center that is you've done a lot within the EV fleet space.
Yes.
So talk to us about that with the lens of buy, build, partner.
Yeah, so EV is where we started our journey. Initially, we did a lot of digital focus ventures, ventures that would focus on digital-based business models. And in 2018, actually in 2016, we started working on fleet management, commercial fleet. So we started getting experience and expertise in commercial fleet management. 2018, started looking at the EV transition. And literally in that EV, what we call EV value chain, we launched 6 different ventures. And out of the 6 different ventures, 4 of them died, and 2 of them today are unicorn-level companies. So in the EV, but a completely different business model. One looking at battery as a service, offering for commercial fleet and PTOs, and the other one is really looking at charging infrastructures with also digital platforms. So here we literally, it kind of looked like we were very agile, right? So we played around with different business model, leveraging the same asset, but implementing a different business model. We would test it in a region with a set of customers, seeing if we had enough critical mass to build an MVP, enough customer pilots. And in many cases, we didn't, right? We could, we were able to go for some of them until like up to a year and a half, 2 years. And at some point, it didn't catch. And we played around with what we had as IP, and we also refused to think that we could do everything, right? So in some cases, we partnered with other startups that had been doing the same thing for 3 years, integrating with charging infrastructures, with bus operators, and we partnered with them to help us accelerate our progression and complement our value proposition. In some cases, we tried even to propose some M&A activities. So that's one area of partnership. We also partner with large corporations because business modeling, financing as a service model is also a very key element. So we purposely put in place program with financing insurance companies to help create the right business model that will help remove some of the barriers to adoption.
Yeah.
So that's another type of partnership. And then right now, we're also having partnership more on the public-private area because we realize that for EV adoption and for everything in green, with this requirement to go on an accelerated pace of transition, you really need to look at the other obstacles, the non-traditional obstacle, the social obstacle, the public infrastructure obstacles, and that require another set of partnerships.
Yeah. Also interesting, you've mentioned a couple of times the ability to say, no, this is failing. And I think also having been in an innovation job, ventures are like zombies, they keep coming back.
Yeah.
So how do you stop that? How do you then build in that into the process to say, we've made this decision, it's time to move on?
To stop, right?
To stop,
so I'll give you the opposite example just very briefly. One, when we initiated this journey into incubation in 2014, the tendency, and it's a tendency for very large corporations, was to find 1 or 2 large customers, and because they were big names, you go with them for 2 years, 3 years. You don't really make money. And by the way, you're not building a scalable business because you're just doing what this particular customer is asking you to do, right? So that's a very important element to always keep in mind. So we put in place a very, very, very well structured, but set of KPIs, right? So one of the first steps for businesses is what we call the ideation, the ideation phase, defining the who, the what, the where, and then the second phase was the validation. So you can have a great idea, great skills, etc., and then you go talk to customers, you build your business model, and then you ask for funding to create a first small venture team, right? But you cannot come and ask for funding if you do not have 5, 6, or 7 customers that have raised their hands for paid pilots.
Yeah.
Right? If it's as simple as that. If you don't have the traction, if you don't have enough customers that have raised their hand to do paid pilots, you do not pass the gate, right? If you pass the gate, then you go through the next, what we call the incubation phase, and it's the same thing. You need to do your paid pilots. You need to be able to build a minimum viable products, etc. So it's all these different areas, and so it's easier to kill them when you can talk about the past stories and what happened, what went wrong.
Yeah.
But you have to kill these initiatives as long as you keep testing. You keep testing how you reuse these assets. You take another approach to market. You build another business model.
Yeah. The flip side of that, you've created 2 unicorns. So talk to me about how you built an ecosystem to make that happen, because you were saying 6 of them were in the same area. So how did you learn from each of those to create 2 unicorns, which I think most of us in the room would be very proud of?
It's to be honest, it's the same thing. It's around market traction, right? It's how we've been able to pass the different gates and how we've been able to have enough customers that we're willing to pay, right? That's obviously there's a business model. Do you have IP? Do the numbers work, etc. But we're really based it on that fundamental idea that you need to have market traction. From an ecosystem perspective, there again, we try to do a mix between building our own IP, our own capabilities, and also build partnerships, sometimes with startups, and in some cases you even had competition, okay. Right? We had to, for example, we were selling to to public transit authorities, and we would come to them with charging infrastructures. We'd come to them with a software solution. And then as you discuss with them, you realize that one of the main barriers that they have from a financial perspective, it comes from the batteries, right? So government funding incentives allow them to buy the buses. The bus time, lifetime is 16 to 24 years. The battery is 8 years, right? What are they going to do? And the battery amounts for about 40 to 50% of the total bus value. So we needed to remove this. In order to remove this, we need to find third-party company that would allow you to monitor the battery status, improve the utilization of the batteries, and we need financing companies that would allow you to create a battery as a service model, right? So it's, obviously you need to create IP, you need to create sustainable, what I call sustainable rents. You need to kind of make sure that your gross margin, you have a view on how your gross margin will keep improving. So you can't do everything based on reselling other people's things, but you do have to find the right partner, the right structure of partnership and type of partners to remove these barriers and build a compelling value proposition offered for your customers.
Coming to the end of our time, and I think that's a really interesting part to leave when you're looking at your corporate partners here and you're talking about barriers. What's the message you have to the people in the room about climate change, growth, and kind of removing those barriers?
I think what's interesting, and the interesting or challenging, however you want to put it, opportunity there is that climate change, as you all know, is different from the other transition that we've been through, right? We have to, obviously, depending on the individuals, you really want to help this transition. You really want to help the planet. But there's something else. We're asked to execute on an accelerated transition. Accelerated transition means that we are not letting the market forces play their usual role within their usual time frames, right? So we're trying to push and accelerate the bus, how fast the bus goes, but there's still a number of obstacles, and many of these obstacles are independent not under our control. So and a lot of them are, I think it was last year that was it the CEO of was it Audi or Volkswagen? Volkswagen resigned because the plan in Germany, where obviously you need to have a strong consensus with the unions didn't accept the plan for transformation of the company going into EV. So there's a social aspect. There's many different social aspects, like in terms of switching costs for consumers. So partnership today in this green transition means partnering with startup, investing in startups, partnering with public authorities, but it's really looking at all different types of partnerships that will help you remove these barriers that you typically don't have to deal with, so you can open the road for return on the investment that you make in the technologies. So it's a much broader and comprehensive approach to partnership.
And with that, I give a huge round of applause. If you want to talk about partnership, Laurent would be really open to discussing that. But a big thank you to Laurent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.